how there's a lot of similarities between this Hindutva ideology and the Zionist ideology, and here you can see they're literally trying to bootlick the Zionists so much. Probably they're hoping for some kind of sympathy or solidarity.
But also what they're trying to say now is that he's interviewed the extreme element of Israeli society. And these settlers, they don't represent Israel as a whole, they represent the extreme fringe. Now, that ain't true because, brothers and sisters, the whole of Israel is one big settlement.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and Roshan Salih. Now, there is a ton of things to discuss today, but before we do, I just want to ask Roshan about, you know, those little things that get on his nerves throughout the week that he likes to complain about and lecture us all about what really grinds his gears. So, Assalamu alaikum, Roshan, good to have you here with us again. Just tell me, what are you annoyed about this week?
I'm not overly annoyed, but, Liverpool winning the Premier League. I'm a lifelong Liverpool fan. I think you know this, and especially in my younger years, I used to be obsessed by Liverpool. And I grew up in a place quite near Liverpool. Used to go to the matches, and that carried on into later life as well. But since Gaza happened, I have just gone off sport, and I have just gone off all these trivial things like enjoyment, you know, just generally enjoying myself. I've just gone off it.
I know,
because people are dying, and that I felt that way, particularly at the beginning, but even now. And yeah, I'm pleased Liverpool won the Premier League, but it really annoys me that Muslim like football fans are cock a hoop about it. I mean, alhamdulillah, most of my friends aren't. You know, I'm talking Liverpool fans here, and they're playing it down, and yeah, they're secretly pleased, but they're not banging on about it. But unfortunately, some are, and that just annoys me a little bit. I mean, how can you do that when Palestine's burning? People will say I'm a killjoy for saying that, but literally that's how I feel. I've completely gone off enjoying myself.
I must admit, I have also gone off sports as well, and it's been hard to reconnect to it. I used to always keep up with my team. I wasn't so into it.
Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham. Obviously, I'm from North London originally, so that was the team. But I mean, they're actually performing really badly.
Why do you support a Zionist team?
Well, do you know what? I dispute that. I mean, I know it's got Jewish heritage, but we don't conflate Judaism with Zionism, right? Okay. And there's Israelis that support Arsenal. There's Israelis that support...
A lot of Israelis support Tottenham, though.
A lot of them support Arsenal, a lot of them support Man United. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think you can attack them on that basis.
Disproportionately, I think more Israelis and Zionists support Tottenham than other teams.
Really? Have you seen?
It's what I've noticed online, anecdotally.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. But I haven't seen any direct, like, Tottenham in Israel stuff. I mean, I think they did actually...
They're all corrupt. All these teams are corrupt, including Liverpool.
Yeah, if they did, I think they did actually announce a tour. There was some pre-season friendly tour that they did. And they played some Israeli teams. That was a few years ago. I actually condemned Tottenham about that. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not like above Tottenham till I die.
You know, Liverpool used to have this...
But I can't watch them.
You know, Liverpool used to have this sponsor, this Carlsberg, the beer.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I mean, astaghfirullah, when I went to Mecca for my first Hajj, it could have been my second Hajj, I'm not sure, I saw somebody from some part of the world wearing a Liverpool Carlsberg t-shirt while he was doing tawaf.
That's crazy.
That is a true story.
Where was he from? I wonder.
I've got no idea.
Maybe didn't know. Maybe didn't know. You know, like a brother from some village. That's
Hussein Adan taken to the extreme. But
it's great. Well, maybe.
Anyway, football's corrupt. It's all capitalism. And I just
shame on you for enjoying it.
Shame on you for enjoying yourself.
Boo on you. Well,
but I tell you what, Liverpool is one of the. I mean, they're all corrupt, but Liverpool's one of the better teams because it comes from a left-wing city. You know, a lot of the fan base is pro-Palestine, unlike Tottenham.
They're fighting against the Red Devils as well, aren't they? Against the little Shaitan team, Manchester United.
Yes.
So,
big Shaitan, more like.
So I guess you could put it that way. Well, we are going to dive into a proper topic, I think. There is a lot going on, particularly between India and Pakistan over occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So this all comes about following an attack which took place in Jammu and Kashmir, which left a number of so-called tourists dead. It was a major attack, and obviously India has responded aggressively to that. They're basically blaming Pakistan. Pakistan is also blaming India, and Kashmiris are kind of stuck in the middle, as they have been for all of these decades. Anti-Muslim hatred is rising sharply in India, and we've got reports coming out of Kashmiris and Indian Muslims being attacked by sectarian Hindu extremist pogroms, I guess you could describe them, something which we've seen in India many, many times. And I think people are fearing that India is about to attack Pakistan or
militarily.
Exactly. And obviously these are two nuclear weapon owning nations, so people are even worried about the threat of nuclear war if this thing continues to escalate to the most extreme. But to help us guide us through this topic, we do actually have a special guest coming on, but I'll get your reaction to this story right now, Roshan, whilst I see where our expert guest is.
Yeah, I mean, it's even spilled over onto the streets of Britain, isn't it? I think the Pakistani High Commission saw some protests, some OAP Hindu nationalists strutting their stuff outside the the Pakistani High Commission. I think the High Commission itself was attacked. Saffron paint was chucked on there, as was some windows were broken. But yeah, I'm actually got more questions than answers here, and I think we should let Brother Muzzammil, when we get him on, talk. I mean, I'm a little bit suspicious about the attack itself. There's very little information about who did the attack. Even the Indian media isn't really saying who the victims were. We're not hearing their life stories, who they were. I wonder why. We've seen this wave of anti-Muslim hatred across India. Obviously, it was always there, but it's accelerated to unbelievable proportions with genocidal rhetoric and violent actions being enacted by the Hindu nationalists against ordinary Muslims all over that country, and especially Kashmiris. And we also have, the spillover onto the streets of Britain, and who knows, let's see what happens. We saw some Hindutva riots in Leicester about 3 years ago. I wonder if that kind of stuff is happening because the tensions have completely ramped up between India and Pakistan.
Okay, we now have our expert ready to speak to us about the situation there. It's Dr. Muzzammil Ayub Thakur, who is the leader of the World Kashmir Freedom Movement, who joins us now. Now, Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. I know your time's very limited and there is a lot to discuss, so I want to bring you in as quickly as I possibly can. So obviously, this whole escalation between India and Pakistan has occurred over the attack which took place in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Maybe you could just start off by describing the attack, because one thing that confuses me is the lack of information that we're getting out about it. It seems as if it's sort of being covered up in a way. What actually happened on that day?
So according to Indian reports, if we go through this chronologically, at a particular time an attack happened in Pahalgam. Within 10 minutes a police report was issued in a police station that was about a few kilometers away. And 5 minutes after that, the Indian news had already made the decision that Pakistan was behind it. So within 15 minutes, everything was done and dusted. The issue with the police report is the fact that the report itself, despite it being strange that within 10 minutes a police report was issued, it states that there was indiscriminate firing. Whereas 5 minutes later, the Indian media, and the Indian media is extremely powerful, they stated that it was targeted killings of Hindus. And it was sponsored by Pakistan. Now, there are two sides to this story, right? On the one side, Pakistan says this was a false flag operation. On the other side, India says that it was done by Pakistan. Now, if we take the Indian position for a moment, and it was done by Pakistan, that has to be a massive failure on a grand proportion, an epic failure of security. Considering that Pahalgam is a tourist destination, there is the Amarnath area there, which is sacred for Hindus. They go for pilgrimage there, so it's a highly securitized zone. Kashmir happens to be the densest security to civilian ratio in the world. Pahalgam is about 200 kilometers from the international border. So if Pakistan did it, Pakistan must be the greatest insurgency, performing the greatest insurgency in the world, or there has been a massive lack of security inside Kashmir by the Indian occupational forces, and their security has completely been decimated. Or on the other side, it was a false flag operation. And it's not the first time that such a narrative has been proposed before. Back in, I think it was 1996 or 97, former President Bill Clinton had visited India, and around the same time there was a massacre of Sikhs living in Chhattisgarh. After the investigation done by the US, it turned out that the massacre was not done by militants, so-called militants, as India had claimed, but done by the Indian army pretending to be militants. And several years before that, Al-Faran was a so-called indigenous armed group, so-called, because apparently they kidnapped 3 Europeans and beheaded them. After investigation, it turns out that it was the Indian armed forces and the intelligence masquerading as Mujahideen to delegitimize the armed struggle. So it's not unheard of that this is a possibility.
Muzzammil, can I just butt in there for a second? Apologies for that. Who were these people that were killed? Because obviously the media is calling them tourists. I've looked online and I can't find out much information, even from the Indian media, about who was actually killed. So who was killed in this attack?
Your guess is as good as mine. However, certain reports also suggest that there were about 9 non-civilians. There were military personnel and intelligence agents as well, 8 to 9 people. The rest of the list, it seems to expand and contract depending on the whim of the Indian media and the desires of the Indian government. First it was 12, then it was 50, then they reduced it down to 27, and now it's 40. So every day that those numbers keep on changing. That's a problem, that they've been able to become judge, jury, and executioner without doing a thorough investigation. It's impossible to have an investigation done that quickly. And if, for example, they were able to figure out that quickly who did it, what they wanted, why they did it, and all these things, then where's the evidence? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to commit any form of war, let alone on the people of Kashmir, but an international sovereign country like Pakistan, you're going to go to war, where is the evidence? And it's not just the government of Pakistan that's asking for this. It's America, it's Europe, it's all these Muslim countries as well, that we will back everything that you say, as long as you provide the evidence which India has not been able to do. Not just about the attack itself, but as you mentioned, Roshan, not even the victims.
Yeah, I'll let Robert come back in, but I'll one more question for me, Robert. What's the situation in Kashmir like now, Muzzammil?
Over the last few days, more than 2,000 people, the reports that we're getting, and of course, because it's an occupied territory, we get reports very late, but at least 2,000 people have been arrested. Now, those 2,000 people have nothing to do with the area of Pahalgam. They live in far-flung locations. Dozens of houses have been destroyed, literally destroyed, razed to the ground, bulldozed, or explosives used on their properties. A couple of students, several students that are Kashmiri students that are living in India, studying in India, they've been attacked. Even a sister, and I think the Five Pillars even reported this, a sister in Punjab, her abaya was ripped because she was a Kashmiri. The war on Kashmiris and Kashmir is because of the Muslim identity. That is it. Because the language, if you listen to the language that the Indian media uses in regards to Kashmir, particularly since what happened last week, it is reminiscent, not only reminiscent, it is identical to the language that the Zionists used after October 7th. A final settlement, a final solution. It is directly from the playbook of the Zionists, and they're not even hiding it anymore.
I'm going to put to you, because obviously, you know, a lot of discussion is being had online about this. I think the Indian argument is that, you know, Kashmir was a Hindu majority region once upon a time, and that, you know, it's a divided region, and that I think one of the reasons that Jammu and Kashmir is kind of in India's hold is because of the former leader was Hindu and he chose India or something like that. Do you want to just respond to the Indian argument for their claim to the region?
By extension of that logic, the Vikings should come back and rule the UK. It's just that logic just doesn't suit anybody. There was also a 500-year of Muslims as well, a 500-year rule of Muslims. So should we invoke that as well? But going thousands of years back is not going to be productive. So as you mentioned, if we just talk about the last 80 years since partition, yes, a rule, absolutely true. I will concede the point that the ruler of Kashmir, who was a Hindu that had a majority Muslim population, wanted to accede to India. I'll concede that point. But at the same time, in Hyderabad and Junagadh, those areas were ruled by Muslim leaders. And when they decided to accede to Pakistan, India said, no, the population are Hindus. They have to come to. So this duplicity by India is not new. It's happened in the past, 75, 80 years ago. It's happening today, and it's happened between that time as well. And they'll continue to be duplicitous. So in terms of whether it's a Hindu ruler or Muslim subjects or Muslim ruler and Hindu subjects, at the end of the day, it was India that took the issue of Kashmir to the United Nations Security Council, and they agreed by the Security Council resolutions that said that the people of Kashmir should be given the right to decide their own fate. Not an out-of-the-box solution. We're not asking for something radical. We're simply asking for the right to decide our own fate. The same way that the Indians fought the British and decided their own fate, we want to do something very, very similar.
Muzzammil,
even the Scottish were given their right to self-determination. Yeah. It's irrespective of what way that vote went, but they got it. And that's all we're asking for.
Yeah. Muzzammil, tell us about the wave of hatred across India over the past 10 days or so. Or week.
The hatred? Hatred.
Genocidal rhetoric, yeah.
Soft term. It's genetic. I can't even. There isn't. Kashmir has faced an apocalypse over the last nearly 80 years. And whatever happened in Kashmir over the last 75, 80 years was an experiment. They were laboratory experiments done by India to see how far they could push things. How far could they go? And they used Kashmir as that experiment to export those trials to mainland India, which now you are seeing what is happening with the Muslims in India. You have seen what happened to the Christians in India, particularly over Christmas, how they were brutalized. You see what's happening with the Dalits, what's happening in Manipur. There are so many fault lines in India that when we talk about hate, it isn't really necessarily just hate. It is a vehement opposition. It is an ideology that wants to eradicate, not just absorb, but eradicate any identity that doesn't conform to them. Why? Because they believe they are a superior race. They believe they are the chosen race. Does that sound familiar? It sounds very much reminiscent of the Nazis. And more today, very reminiscent of the Zionists. They also believe they are the chosen people and everybody else are Goyim, everybody else are Gentiles, or Gentiles, whatever you want to call it. The Hindutva brigade, the people that are in power right now, the BJP, their parent organization, the RSS, believes in exactly the same thing. They believe that they are the chosen race. They don't believe in science and history. What they believe is in Hindu mythology and Hindu science, which believes that civilization started in India and everybody is naturally Indian. Their belief structure is so disgusting that they believe that Muslims in India right now or anywhere else in the world, we have to do something called Ghar Wapsi, which means returning them home. They believe that these Muslims used to be Hindus and therefore we must convert them back into Hinduism. And you know who their targets are first? Our sisters, our mothers, our daughters. They forcibly tried, I mean, they made, after the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019, BJP leaders were calling for their members to go to Kashmir and marry fair-skinned Kashmiri girls, as if our women are some form of commodity. So, going back to the question, the hate, I mean, can you really call it hate? There has to be. I mean, it's a pogrom of extermination of all minorities, particularly the Muslims, but other minorities as well, because they believe in the Aryan race. They believe in a superior race. And I keep on referring back to this language. I could use a different language, but it's not only reminiscent; it's identical to what the Zionists believe, and before that, the Nazis believed. So fascism is not limited. Or did not die in Germany. Is not limited to the Middle East. It's far extended to the subcontinent. Particularly after 9/11, when India took the franchise of the war on terror, which we now know is the war on Islam.
Muzzammil, final question from me. Are you expecting a Indian strike on Pakistan or against Pakistani interests? How do you think this is going to play out?
I think there will be skirmishes. We've seen it happen in the past, in most of the events that have happened like this, cross-border insurgency that they claim or terrorism that they claim. Without any evidence, how far can India really go? Because even the Americans aren't towing the Indian narrative right now. They're not believing it. International journalists and news organizations aren't using the term militancy or terrorism because there is no evidence to support that. So whatever India does right now is going to go not against international law, but against the morality that the West at least believe in. That you need to have some form of evidence, even if it's false evidence, but at least provide something, which India have been unable to do. So that war that India wishes to pursue against Pakistan, it will be, in my opinion, it will be a limited war. I mean, using the term war may be far-fetched. There may be skirmishes, but more importantly, Pakistan will respond in kind. They've said it. Only last night, in the middle of the night, I think about 11 p.m. our time, which must have been 3 a.m. Pakistan time, the information minister was saying that we have intelligence, credible intelligence, to suggest India will attack in 24 to 36 hours. Now, by international law, that means Pakistan has the right to respond before that even happens. It's a defensive, preemptive defensive measure. They're allowed to do that, but they still haven't. They're showing restraint, continuously asking India, provide the evidence, let's do an investigation, let's get an impartial investigation. Okay. But in between, Roshan, it's such a good question that I also want to throw in between, that in all of this chaos, the people of Kashmir continue to suffer. We continue to be subjugated. We continue to be brutalized for something that we didn't even do. 2,000 people being arrested, detained, tortured, and forcibly disappeared. My family relatives being beaten. For what purpose? What did they do? What did a 65-year-old grandfather do to deserve having to go to the police station and being beaten there by the army?
Dr. Muzzammil, I think I will let you go because I know that time is very limited for you, and I think you've offloaded quite a lot of very important information which we can analyse here. So thank you very much, Dr. Muzzammil, the president of the World Kashmir Freedom Movement, for joining us.
Welcome, salam, brother.
So obviously, there you go. I mean, the situation is obviously really bad, and I think potential for it to escalate is also there because we know that India and Pakistan, these are long-time rivals in the region, and Kashmir is very sensitive. We see that here. You mentioned already that it's already hit Britain's shores, and we've seen protests outside the Pakistani High Commission
in London.
And also elsewhere in Birmingham. I might have a few clips which I can play out now.
Sure, let's have a look.
So this is basically the protest. Now these are the Indian lot.
Israeli flags.
And you can see Israeli flags there. That comes back to what the doctor was talking about, how there's a lot of similarities between this Hindutva ideology and the Zionist ideology. And here you can see they're literally trying to bootlick the Zionists so much. Probably they're hoping for some kind of sympathy or solidarity. But I think, no one likes the Hindutva really. Like even their so-called allies.
Only Tommy Robinson types and GB News types. They love them.
That's a good point. I think
Rupert Lowe.
Yeah, here in Britain, they are
they're
looking for some allies, aren't they? And they need bodies on the street.
Their natural allies are the far right. And I think most Hindus in this country are conservative voters, Tory voters. I'm sure a lot will vote for reform as well.
Now it turned into a bit of a joke, this protest.
It looks like they've got like one foot in the grave, all of them. Do you understand? Couldn't they find any youth?
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically,
Is that the RSS youth?
Yeah, there was a few youngsters there. There was one guy in particular who went viral. I'll see if I can.
Like I say, I can't hear you. I'm deaf.
Well, they did have a few weirdo youth show up. I mean, here's one example.
Okay.
He went viral, but not for the reason he wanted to.
What's he doing?
There he is. I'll play it from the beginning. This is what ended up to him.
Oh, the boys in blue.
Yeah, so this is him acting all tough, like he's from some Bollywood movie or something.
What's he doing with his moustache?
I have no idea. Maybe it's a bit day.
A few moments later.
Oh,
why?
Where's the tough man gone?
Yeah, why?
Is he crying? Is he crying? He should go join that little girl, Tommy Robinson, that jail cell. Oh, he's literally...
That was jokes. Yeah, he went absolutely viral. Look, tough guy to jail.
This is the first time I'm seeing this.
But yeah, it was a funny one.
He means business, isn't he? He's cleaning his moustache. That means
I don't know what
death.
that means.
That's a Bollywood move, isn't it?
Yeah, and swinging his arms around like he just don't care. But then, and then he ended up in handcuffs. There was a funny scene as well. He was like running away from the police and they were all chasing him down the street.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did. But yeah, he ended up being carted off. And yeah, it's because as you
they're all dwarves as well, aren't they? They're genetically very small.
There's something wrong with them. I'm not sure what it is. There's something wrong. Some DNA went wrong there. But what can I say? This is something we've seen before, though, Roshan. I mean, these Hindutva youngsters being radicalised by this ideology. That's what ended up with, I think it was in 2022, the trouble in Leicester and Birmingham. It was basically a bunch of young whippersnappers who'd been radicalised by politics in India. They were going into Muslim areas and terrorising people, for no reason other than the fact that they were Muslim, and they were coming up with all these Hindu slogans, which you hear. Where they're, whenever they attack a Muslim in India, they come out with all these Hindu chants. And it was the exact same thing happening here. So, although
I think this is going...
I mean, we poke fun at these guys for obvious reasons. They are a bunch of jokers, but it's a red flag to the authorities,
And they're not taking it seriously.
No, they're not taking
it seriously. I think the radicalisation of Hindu youth in this country is something which is simply not on the radar of the authorities. Although I did see, was it a Met Police report or just a recent report? I forget what it was. warning about that, and that it's something to look at in the future. I think the reason why they're not taking it seriously is because they're not about to blow up a London bus or a kind of, they're not going to do the old-fashioned type of terrorism against British symbols. But they are a threat to British Muslims.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they
might attack a mosque.
So I think it's something that has to be taken very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if you remember how bad it was, but there were we saw evidence of serious assaults taking place up in Leicester, which predated the street troubles that happened in 2022. There were like kids getting battered, hospitalized because they were Muslim.
I mean, what was happening was that obviously they're cowards, so they're not about to march into Birmingham because they'll get a hiding. But what they did is they came in crowds, in mobs, and they picked off isolated Muslim youth that weren't with anybody else, and they battered them.
Exactly. These are people who drink alcohol, worship idols. They don't really have a sense of honor or whatever it is that you need, so they attack like the vulnerable, just like a Zionist.
And we all know what their favorite drink is, but it will go unsaid.
Alcohol's just one thing. Do you know what I mean? Cow dung or whatever it is, smoothies, that's another thing. But
cow dung smoothie.
I don't know what it is. I've seen them.
Is that a Hindutva drink?
I think
refreshment.
So. I mean, do you know what? I've seen videos online. Yeah, they literally go under a cow face first and just wait for it, and it just lands slap on the face. I mean,
the dung.
I've
seen the urine. I've seen the urine online.
That's the beginning. That's like the starter. That's like a little drink. Beforehand. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
But I think we should. I think we should reiterate here that we're not. This is not a widespread attack against Hindus.
No.
It's Hindutva.
Do you know what? We don't hate the sinner. We hate the sin, innit?
Yes.
And worshipping cows, I don't like that.
No, worshipping idols. That's mushrikeen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the worst sin in Islam.
We don't.
The only sin that you can't be forgiven for is shirk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And everything else, you might murder somebody, and it's possible that Allah will forgive you if certain conditions are met. But shirk is the worst of sins. Yeah, that said, someone who's in jahiliyyah, who's in ignorance, is not accountable. But can you say these people are in jahiliyyah? I'm not sure.
Yeah, basically because there was some Hindutva.
So I should rephrase that before someone picks me up on it. If you've not had Islam clearly explained to you, then you're not accountable. In that sense. But if you have, then you are.
That's why Zakir Naik was such a legend, isn't it? Because he was just introducing so many of them to Islam and they were embracing it.
That's why hundreds of thousands of Hindus.
That's why they got him out of India. Do you know what I mean? Because it would have been an Islamic.
That guy, I'm not sure if this is true or not. He would have
established the Mughal Empire again, probably going the way he was.
I'm not sure this is true or not, but I've heard it said by a scholar, a reputable scholar, that Zakir Naik was responsible for the conversion of more Hindus than perhaps anyone else in human history. Wow. Simply because,
can you imagine
because there are so many. I mean, in the times of the Mughals, the population wasn't so big, whereas now it's huge. So I don't know.
Wow, what an achievement! But that's why they were scared of him, and they kicked him out of India. But
any more videos that we can see? I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, there was a good one. So this is like what you could call a retaliatory response by our dearly beloved brother.
What's he been up to?
Shaquille. There was another attempt to rally a protest, I think, a Hindutva protest in Birmingham. And of course, Shaquille weren't having none of it. So he was straight to the scene. All right, hang on.
This is a pro-Modi protest in Birmingham, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just get my audios right. Here we go. So here's Shaquille Afzar in Birmingham.
As you can see right behind me, we have Modi, BJP, RSS, Hindutva supporting individuals who have come to the city of Birmingham to protest in favour of a barbaric leader called Narendra Modi. What do we do? Modi is a terrorist! Modi is a terrorist! Modi is a terrorist! Out! Get out! Clean your rubbish! Hey, clean your rubbish! Take your rubbish with you! Take your rubbish with you, you terrorist! Chalo, come on! That's it!
Well, there you go. Yeah, Shaquille hard at work there, trying to defend the cause. But what can I say? It's just like the Palestine-Israel thing. Unfortunately, the UK has become sort of a battleground of ideologies, hasn't it? And you've got the good guys which we represent on our side. Yeah, the Muslims and the Kashmiris. There's a lot of Kashmiris here in the UK, the good guys here. And then, of course, unfortunately, you've got the baddies, the ones who stand by Modi and the Indian occupation of Kashmir. And, you know, they're trying to do a lot in India. It's a really big thing, Kashmir. I think it's a real shame that Muslims aren't on it more outside of Kashmir.
Yeah, even us. Obviously, Gaza has focused our attention over the last year and a half. But the parallels that Muzzammil was, you know, kind of elucidating there are incredible, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole chunk of Kashmir that India's laying claim to. They're eroding their rights away. They had semi-autonomous status at the very least. That's now gone. They're there with a military occupation. They're trying to push Hindus into the region to change the demographics. This is a Muslim majority region, a beautiful region, which is definitely a Muslim region. And they're trying to lay claim to it because some Hindus lived there 1,000 years ago.
They've occupied it for, since the 40s, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the parallels with the Zionists, I mean, they're actually copying the Zionists, aren't they? They're absolute bedfellows. The bulldozing of houses, the settlers, the occupation, the military restrictions, all that, the changing the demographics, all that kind of stuff. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Obvious.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see nuclear war?
Well, you know, I mean, thank God, may Allah bless A.Q. Khan, you know, the founder of the Islamic bomb, as they call it. You know, Pakistan is the only Muslim nation in the world that has a nuclear weapon, thanks to A.Q. Khan. May Allah have mercy on him and reward him. And that's why Pakistan's not afraid of India, because they have the ultimate deterrent. And yeah, like Muzzammil says, I expect skirmishes, but all-out war is something that would cost both sides.
Yeah,
so dear, you know.
Yeah, tremendously.
Yeah.
I just wonder how hard India's going to go, because you talk about skirmishes, but I mean, India's run by a bunch of extremist lunatics at the moment. And yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's a false flag?
They're all fart and no cow dung.
Yeah, that's a good one. But they are they're obviously I mean, if it is a false flag like what we're hearing Pakistanis saying,
yeah,
they might be using it as an excuse to, like, I don't know, mass murder Muslims in India or something like that.
That's what they'll do. They'll take the easy option and they will target Muslims internally in India.
There's a trend here where they're trying to introduce flags on the floor. Palestine, Pakistan, Bangladeshi flags are being trampled on across India now.
Well, that's the proof. Why is the Palestine flag there? What has Palestine done to Kashmir? Ever. The only reason the Palestine flag is there is because they hate Muslims.
They hate Muslims. And
that's the connection. It's Muslims.
Bangladesh as well. It's a completely different situation going on there. And yeah, they're hating on anything to do with Muslims, like Muslims that are trying to, like, what's the word? Self-determination.
It's worth seeing some of that genocidal rhetoric in that video that we produced yesterday. I think it's worth watching even a minute of this just to see what they're saying.
So don't take our word for it about Hindutva. They're saying it openly and plainly themselves.
Straight out of the cow's mouth.
Cow's ass or whatever it is.
खाली होना चाहिए पूरे मुसलमानों से। अब ये एक ही इलाज जो हमें लगता है कि जैसे इजराइल ने जो है फिलिस्तीन को किया, उससे वही इलाज कश्मीर के साथ करना पड़ेगा। कोई मुसलमान कश्मीरी हमें देहरादून में मिला तो हम उसका इलाज अवश्य करेंगे।
In the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack in India, a wave of anti-Muslim hatred has swept across the country. Threats are now being issued publicly, targeting Muslims simply for their appearance or religious identity. In some regions, Muslims have been threatened with violence for wearing traditional clothing. In other states, doctors have reportedly refused to treat Muslim patients, which is a violation of basic medical ethics and human rights. Social media platforms are flooded with calls for collective punishment. For the 26 killed, we will kill 2600. The language of revenge has replaced the language of justice. In West Bengal, hateful posters appeared at the gates of a leading agricultural university which read, "Dogs and Muslims are not allowed."
So there you have it.
It goes on and on. It's worth watching that video on our social media channels, brothers and sisters. It's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to monitor the situation. If there is some kind of escalation, it could spread here. We'll certainly be reporting on it as best we can.
It might be worth going live even, I think, if it does happen.
I think so, yeah.
In the next few days.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people speaking about this. And yeah, Pakistan's High Commission was attacked in London.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, you know, there is a real threat here. You know, there is a real threat of violence spilling out, I think. So let's keep an eye on this. There is other stories to discuss. Let's see if we can...
What have we got?
So
Louis Theroux.
Yeah, so we've got a documentary that's come out.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big one, and it was reviewed by Dr. Abdul Wahid on 5 Pillars. And basically it's called The Settlers, and it's Louis Theroux revisiting the ultra-Zionists.
Did you watch it?
I haven't seen all of this one. No, I've seen the first.
I did my homework, unlike you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't like the BBC normally.
You watching? You watching CBeebies, weren't you? You watching In the Night Garden while I was watching this?
Yeah, CBeebies. But yeah, I've seen bits, the most important bits, I think. And obviously, I've seen his original work when he went there first time. And these guys basically pushing for the spread of illegal settlements in Gaza, even as well as everywhere else in occupied
and
Palestine.
Lebanon.
And Lebanon.
Yeah.
And it was all documented, all on camera. It's not just a conspiracy theory. They were literally open and proud about it. I can actually bring up a clip, I think.
Play a clip?
I won't be able to play this out in the actual thing, I think, but we can certainly play the audio. But you and me can react to it for sure. So this is a clip from the documentary that went viral online.
Daniela had told me she'd signed up 800 families who were ready to move into Gaza. One of her team explained how it would work.
עכשיו בואו נסתכל פה, אפשר לראות בעצם, כן, זה צפון רצועת עזה. עכשיו אנחנו נערכים.
You're thinking about tribalism, thinking of your own people to the exclusion. It would be understandable to think of your own people or your own children first, but to think about other people, other children, not at all, that seems sociopathic.
I can...
Doesn't it?
No, not at all. This is normal. To my children, I give everything. Because the normal thing for me is to pray for my own people. That's it. So now I continue. I hope you push me back.
Yeah, he wants to cleanse the land of camel riders, and that includes Lebanon, all of Gaza, all of Palestine, and I'm sure he would love a juicy bit more of Syria and all that type of stuff there. So yeah, this is what we've been worrying about and warning about for years, is this concept of Greater Israel and the fact that Zionists are the bad guys because they're stealing other people's land. And there you have it, like a BBC documentary makers just put it on camera for everyone to see.
So this is Louis Theroux, who is makes these fly on the wall documentaries, very famous guy. I think brothers and sisters, you should watch this. If you don't want to watch it on the BBC, it is on BBC iPlayer, but if you don't like the BBC, you can actually watch it on Rumble. So share the link, and especially maybe with your non-Muslim friends, because let's face it, a lot of people, if Muslims say it, they don't believe what we're saying. They think we're biased or whatever. But if a non-Muslim impartial journalist says it, then they're more convinced by it. So I would share it not just with Muslims, but maybe with non-Muslims you work with, and far and wide on your social media. It is worth watching. It's a harrowing, not a surprising watch for me, because I've known this for a long time, but it really does expose these settlers for the fanatical, hate-filled, Islamophobic extremists that they are, violent extremists. So Louis Theroux obviously is going to be called anti-Semitic now.
Oh, he has been, yeah. It's all over online.
And he's not. I think he's like I think he's from a Catholic background. I think, but he's an atheist himself. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's not got a dog in this fight at all.
No, not.
But he has got a bit of humanity in him. So he doesn't like the Palestinians being oppressed like any other people, you know. So yeah, he's just an impartial journalist, but he's opened his eyes, and if you go there, it's obvious what you see. It's obvious what good and evil is.
Yeah.
So that was Louis Theroux. But what I would like to say is that the Zionists obviously are probably going to try and get this taken down from iPlayer.
Oh yeah.
They're probably going to try and
they're
going to try and guilt the BBC into taking it down for some reason.
Pull on their strings.
Yeah, and the Zionists are way too powerful in this country, as we already know. Yeah, so do watch it before they take it down. But also what they're trying to say now is that he's interviewed the extreme element of Israeli society. And these settlers, they don't represent Israel as a whole. They represent the extreme fringe. Now, that ain't true, because, brothers and sisters, the whole of Israel is one big settlement. That's what they did. They stole the land and ethnically cleansed it. Every single Israeli is a settler. not just the guys in the West Bank outposts or whatever. And we all know that what happens is these guys, they do the government's dirty work for them by establishing these outposts, which the government distances themselves from initially, but they're sending military personnel to back them up and give them security as they're establishing these outposts. Eventually, these outposts become settlements de facto, and the government says, well, they exist already. You've got families there, you've got water, electricity. They already exist. Let's make them into an official settlement.
Yeah.
And they one by one, these outposts become huge settlements with thousands of people, then tens of thousands of people, then hundreds of thousands of people. And then the Israeli government says, well, it's a de facto fact on the ground now. We're not going to change that reality. And it becomes, and that's how they steal the land. That's how Israel grew from, one or two settlements in the early 1900s to a state, and now to a state which is gobbling up more and more Palestinian land. And soon it's going to be Lebanon. Soon it's going to be Syria. It already is Syria. Soon it's going to be parts of Saudi Arabia. This is the plan, brothers and sisters, to destroy Masjid al-Aqsa. Their plan is a greater Israel, and their raison d'etre, because they don't want to fall out with their international allies, is to do it slowly, slowly, slowly. But their ultimate plan is a greater Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. This is why I think it's so annoying to deal with Western media when it comes to this topic. It's also very irritating to deal with Western Zionists as well, like British-based Zionists and stuff, because they come out with the whole liberal argument. Some of them even try to say like they're anti-racist. You get these left-wing Zionists here in the UK, and they go like, no, Israel is a force for good. It's a democracy. We're part of the anti-racism movement because we're against anti-Semitism and blah blah blah. But yet, like, this is Zionism. Like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
The guy standing next to Louis Theroux there, he represents Zionism very, very well.
The ugly face of Zionism.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the ideology is all about. And there's a conscious effort here by soft Zionists, or whatever you want to call them, to muddy the waters and to try and spin Zionism as no, it's an honourable cause for the Jewish people and all this type of stuff.
Well, they will say that there are liberal Zionists. But the fact is that liberal Zionism is dead in Israel. The extreme element. I mean, I would say they're all extremists, but I'll admit that some of them are more extreme than others. But what the essential point, Robert, to know is that this is a government-backed project. And also, all the opinion polls in Israel prove that settlement expansion is a popular mainstream idea. It is not a fringe idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you say, the documentary is available. Before they take it down, you should probably give it a watch. I'm sure their proxies are working on it. But and yeah, it's not the first thing that's been taken down as well. There was that other documentary as well.
What was that one? I can't remember.
Yeah, there was I know there was a joint project. There was a documentary which I think the BBC did as well.
The child one.
Yeah,
in
Gaza.
The
child one.
Because his dad was from Hamas or something.
Yeah, and loads of people just thought, what the heck is that all about? Why did the BBC give into that? There was even BBC staff that were protesting.
Because they're scared shitless of Zionists. Sorry for my language.
Humiliating day for the BBC. And then there was also that movie as well, the joint Palestine-Israeli movie, which they wanted to ban as well.
Right.
And that was just another documentary. So, the reason these guys hate documentaries and journalism and all this stuff is because it's the truth.
They hate the truth?
They hate the truth because the truth is ugly.
Because they're a bunch of liars.
They're the bad guys. Yeah, they're literally the bad guys. So that's why they cancel free speach. Well,
what else is going on, Robert? What else is going on?
We've got Syria going on.
We should talk about this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with Syria. So we'll start off with, I think, what's happening. So basically the sanctions have been lifted off Syria partially. The UK has lifted some sanctions.
Yeah.
But also there was accusations flying around that basically Syria is potentially going to agree to normalisation. So I think
with
it was
Israel.
Yeah. So there was an American guy, I think he was a congressman or something like that. He leaked information basically suggesting that the Syrian authorities are willing to...
Because he met with Ahmed al-Shara last week.
Exactly. And that went viral and everyone was talking about it. Now, Syria has released a statement, an official statement denying that and saying that normalisation is not on the table.
Do you believe that?
I don't know, and I'll tell you why. I mean, things are happening in Syria. Syrian security forces arrest Palestinian officials So yeah, there's a lot of red flags, I have to say, and we know that a lot of countries that the Syrians are aligned to, like Turkey, maybe the Qataris or Saudi Arabia, possibly, that's where they want to be aligned with. These countries are all going down with normalisation. Saudi Arabia's flowing with it. But yeah, like
Qatar isn't so far, but yeah,
they're all flowing with it, I think. And I mean,
well, they have relations with Israel.
Yeah, the
indirect.
Qataris.
Yeah,
I don't think the Qataris are really against it, are they? They're just kind of like I think they're kind of in the
middle. They've not come out against the Abraham Accords, and they haven't joined it yet. It wouldn't surprise me if one day they did. But but out of all the Gulf countries, Qatar is the best.
Yeah. So what can I say? But yeah, it's a lot of red flags, I think.
I don't know. I mean, I did warn about this several months ago, and I take no pleasure in repeating it. But I did say that I think I thought that the Americans would try to do a deal whereby they offered lifting of sanctions in exchange for normalization with Israel. And that seems to be happening. Obviously, the Syrian government is under a lot of pressure, and they're trying to play multiple sides here. They're trying to cozy up to the West because they want those sanctions lifted, and they want to economically recover. They're at the same time trying to do deals with Turkey, to have some security arrangements there with Turkey. They're also looking at their domestic population, which doesn't want normalization with Israel. I personally think that they are, at some point, they're going to have to nail their flag to the mast. And that is either a clear rejection of normalization or embracing normalization. At some point, they're going to have to do that. At the moment, they're trying to play all sides, but you can only play that game for so long. I think if Ahmed al-Shara himself had come out with a clear denunciation, or even his foreign minister or an official spokesman had come out with a clear denunciation of the Abraham Accords and said, we will never normalize with Israel, then I would believe him. But he's not done that. He's left open room for doubt. And this kind of, the only thing that's come out is this Syrian TV channel, which isn't even an official channel. It's a private channel, but I think that obviously they've been leaked information. I personally think it's for domestic consumption and perhaps for the Ummah-wide consumption. I suspect that they would be willing to normalize with Israel at some point. I think it's our job as journalists and the Ummah generally to put so much pressure on them, PR pressure I'm talking about, that it would be completely unacceptable for them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's see how we go.
But left alone, I think they would do it. That's my hunch.
Yeah, because it's a bit out of the blue why as a congressman would just release that information if nothing was said privately. Because I'm sure he did ask him about it. Because obviously America would love that, I'm sure.
Ultimately, they will say. Ultimately, my fear is that they will say that, "Oh, we're not gonna, we can't fight Israel now. Look at our situation." But every single Arab country which is normalizing with Israel says the same thing. You know, the Ummah is not interested in excuses anymore. You know, I mean, you know, this is a red line issue for the Ummah. You do not normalize with Israel under any circumstances. Yeah. And I think we did a poll on this. And of our own readers, and we just said, look, you know, are there any circumstances where it would be acceptable for a Muslim nation to normalize with Israel? And I think 95% of our readers said no. And I think that's reflective of the Ummah at large. Under no circumstances is normalization with Israel acceptable. Full stop.
Yes.
And if Ahmed al-Shara does that, then he will drag the name of Sunni Islam through the mud.
Yeah.
Because the Shia are saying that this guy's an agent, right? And they're saying, we're the heroes. We're the ones that fought Israel. No Sunni has fought Israel. And if he normalizes with Israel, they will be proved correct. And the name of Sunni Islam, I mean, you know, obviously we're Sunni Muslims and no one can, Sunni Islam stands on its own. But in the perception of many, he will drag the name of Sunni Islam through the mud.
Yeah, and that's not good. And yeah, Syria as well. Let's remember, I think Syrians, I've never ever met a Syrian that has a kind word to say about Israel or be open to normalization. Do you know what I mean? I've never ever heard of that. Regardless of what your view is about,
they all hate Israel.
You know, yeah, absolutely. It's like any other Arab country. You know, when the Israelis came for the Qatar World Cup, it destroyed this idea that, you know, the Arab Gulf Arabs are kind of down with normalisation, you know, because they're not, you know, they're just betrayed by their leaders on this issue. You know, it's as simple as that. There's
the people are all anti-Israel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There is one more story which I picked out, which I think is a good one. There was a bizarre bit of footage that went viral of a wannabe congresswoman, so a candidate to become congresswoman in Texas, who goes by the name of Valentia Gomez. She's really pushing this
You say goes by the name. Is that not her real name then? Are you casting doubt on her name?
I don't know. Well, basically, I've never heard of her before. Okay. So, yeah, I guess
so
that is
Valentia Gomez.
Whatever her name is. Yeah, so, Miss Gomez is basically running for congresswoman, but she's running on a very strong anti-Islam ticket. And it's trying to be some kind of Mexican-American Tommy Robinson type, I guess. Because it's literally insane how far she's going. Here's a clip of her interrupting a Muslim gathering and basically just shouting down the mic at them. This will give you a taste of who she is and what she stands for.
Islam is the religion of rape, incest, and pedophilia, where they bow down to a stupid God and a false prophet.
So that's what she's been up to lately, and she also released another video basically pushing her official campaign for election.
Over a million girls in the UK and have cut off the heads of innocent Christians in Syria because they refuse to bow down to their stupid rock, and the very same fate awaits your sons and daughters unless you send me to Congress, because I'm the only one who's not afraid of them. I'm going to be very honest with you. I didn't have the blessing of being born in America, or even call myself a Texan, but you can't tell me that I don't care about Texas. The clowns in the Texas House allowed for a bunch of radical Muslims to take over entire cities. Now, they're trying to turn Texas from a Christian state into the Muslim capital of America. So let me be very clear. America is a Christian nation. So these Muslims can f*** off.
Oh, excuse me. No, that was in there.
Has no place here.
So yeah, she's completely nuts. I didn't even know that was in there. Apologies.
I did, yeah.
But yeah, she's obsessed and standing outside a mosque, shouting to camera. Yeah, what do you make of her?
I mean, I shouldn't be laughing, but I thought it's funny. Yeah, I mean, she's obviously deranged. I mean, just look at her eyes. I mean, she's got this like satanic look about her. She's demented, man. I mean, I don't know too much about Hispanic people in America. I know that the Cubans are massive sellouts because they were all upset when Castro was overthrown, and they're all kind of like very right wing and Trumpian or whatever. But I thought Mexican Americans weren't like that. But who knows? I mean,
well, I went to Michigan last year, as you know, and I actually met a few Mexican Americans there, and because they were hanging out and living with Muslims a lot because of the area, they were loving it, man. And a few of them embraced Islam because of the similarities, like Muslim values, Mexican family values. Yeah, they were loving it, and they were definitely more connected to Islam than Christianity.
Yes.
That's one thing that one of the Mexican Americans I met said, was that Christianity has lost way among Mexicans, and Islam is kind of on the rise there. So alhamdulillah, there's a lot of Mexican Americans embracing Islam, which is beautiful to see. I don't know what happened to her. She's just like obsessed with bootlicking white Americans, I think.
I mean, Mexico was obviously I mean, the whole of California and Texas was part of Mexico, I think, at one point, and the Americans just stole it. The American settlers. So they have that history of colonization and war with America. So I think that might play into the mind of Mexican Americans a little bit. So I'm a little bit surprised that she's a Mexican American being so Islamophobic here. Maybe some of our American viewers can tell us what this is all about, because I've got no idea. I mean, America's Muslim population is quite small, isn't it? It's not like Europe, where you have large Muslim populations. So what's she on about? I mean,
she's just trying to get elected. Obviously, it's a desperate.
Can she get elected off the back of this?
Who knows? Yeah, again, I'll be interested. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Just tell us a little bit more about what's going on there. She seems like a bit of a random loser. She's probably big online, maybe not so big locally.
Is that Texas? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Yasser Qadhi's masjid? You know,
could
epic,
be. Yeah, it could be. It's a nice big one. Yeah. I'm glad they got.
Maybe it's because she's seen Yasser Qadhi online going viral and Suleiman. And
she's
they're based in Texas, and isn't Daniel Hakikachu based in Texas as well?
Yeah, I think so. We need to ask him what's going on.
Yeah, so obviously that's Texas is a hotbed for Muslim radicalism, and she's going to call it out.
Well, do you know what it is? Like Texas, from what I understand, is about free speech. So that's why you get a lot of viewpoints like are a bit extreme or whatever. But when it comes to Muslims, I mean,
is she popular? How many followers has she got?
Yeah, she gets a lot, but you know, she's just a loudmouth, isn't she? I mean, yeah, she's got like nearly 500,000 followers.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
She's one of these. They call her.
Oh, is that? Oh, I thought it was Trump, but it's not Trump.
They all look the same over there, don't they? But yeah, she is part of the. I think they call it MEGA movement, which is like Make America Great Again.
MAGA,
yeah. So she's obviously big in the Trump camp. Like she wants to please him.
I see Halal Nation is following her.
Shame on you, Halal Nation. But yeah, she. I think it's just a case of, you know, like you get people who immigrate into white countries and you know, they come from a poor background and they grow up sort of maybe hating themselves. They get bullied or whatever because they're different than all the local white kids.
A lot of the Hindutva are like that. I find that they're more British than the British themselves.
They flag hump more than, you know, like the Tom Robinson types do. I think she's the same. She's a total flag humper. She's really big on pushing her Christian values and how much she hates like Islam and foreigners. So she's appealing to a certain audience, which is just shameful because I'm sure the MAGA camp are quite hostile to Mexicans, you know, for wrong reasons as well, you know. So why should want to please that camp and twerk for them? I don't know. So that's it. Yeah, I just think she's the latest.
They're building a wall.
Exactly.
Keep Mexicans out.
Keep people like her out, you know.
I hate,
so
these
stupid.
immigrants that like have benefited from immigration. They're more like racist than the native Brits, and they're more like anti-immigration than anybody else. I mean, I know so many, even distant family members are a bit like this, you know, that I know personally. And
well, because they're like they're like useful idiots, aren't they? They can say things the white people can't, because obviously they'll be called as plain racists. But she can cuss out Muslims or Mexicans as much as she wants, and they'll say, "Oh no, she's just like a critic," or whatever, you know.
I'm not sure about America, but Britain needs immigrants because it's aging population. You know, the natives, they don't want to do the menial jobs. There's a skill shortage. Immigrants leave. I mean, just see what would happen to this country if immigrants leave.
Yeah.
The NHS falls apart. You know, the infrastructure falls apart. The food gets worse. The culture gets... I mean, whatever. I mean, do you want a nation full of Tommy Robinsons? I mean, Rupert Lowe's.
Yeah, he went viral again. He's attacking halal slaughter again.
Yeah.
You saw that tweet, right? I think you responded to it.
Yeah, but you can put it up.
He wants to outlaw it once again.
It's just that I just think, I mean, lots of people are daring him to call for the banning of... are you going to get this tweet up?
Yeah, here we go.
Let's just wait for that.
Halal slaughter should be banned in Britain. Our country has clear laws on humane slaughter, and religious practice must not override them. In Britain, we treat our animals with care. We must not bend our standards to appease brutal customs. This is a debate we need.
So as you know, because you went to an abattoir,
the
Jews slaughter their meat just like the Muslims. And in fact, I mean, 80% of Muslim meat is actually stunned, 20% isn't, because there's a difference of opinion on the fiqh. Whereas with Jews, none of the meat is stunned.
No,
all right.
very,
So
very
if he really is a humane person and is worried about animal welfare, then he has to also call for kosher slaughter to be banned. But he doesn't, despite everyone egging him on, including myself and Jada Franson and so many others. He will not call for kosher slaughter. I wonder why. Is it because he's targeting Muslims in particular?
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. I mean, that's the thing. The only time I ever accept this argument is if we're dealing with like a vegan.
Yeah.
And there are some pretty radical vegan activists out there who target
that's their
abattoirs
beliefs
and stuff. I don't agree with it, but I can understand where
it's logical. Yeah, they're consistent.
Yeah, consistent, exactly. So they want all animals to be left alone and just to live happy lives and not be eaten by men at all. But this guy, he's happy with slaughtering animals, but just not the halal way. And it's like, what, are you serious? It's just ridiculous argument.
But all vegans look a bit ill, don't they?
Yeah, and that's we can talk about that.
They look very pale, don't they? They haven't got enough meat in them.
Yeah, exactly. They're really malnourished, aren't they? It's not. Look, we're carnivores. Yeah. We're not. We're omnivores, I think.
Yeah.
But we eat meat. Do you know what I mean? And Allah has permitted us to eat some animals, so I'm going to do it.
Animals are there to be eaten, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of them are. Yeah, definitely. You know, we have the right, but obviously I agree we should respect that. Yeah. If we're going to do it the halal way.
I'm not talking about Rover, the pet dog. I'm talking
but yeah, we
Flossie, the cat.
I mean, that's the thing, even I'll agree, we have to make sure we're caring for the animals until they're dead. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's part of what halal slaughter is all about. But this guy, Rupert, doesn't even know that. He just attacks it for no reason. And the real issue here is, okay, he doesn't like Muslims, I guess. He doesn't like halal slaughter, that's for sure. But if the UK was to ban it, you really think Muslims are going to abandon halal? Do you think they're going to ditch their faith just because Rupert Lowe succeeded in bringing in a new law? No. Muslims are still going to eat halal. They're still going to do it one way or another. Yeah. It's just what will happen to the British industry. It'll take a massive financial hit. Yeah. Money will go abroad as we probably look for imports or another way around the system. Jobs will be lost, abattoirs will shut down. The British industry, which I assume, loves and cares for so much, being a Reform UK, former Reform UK MP, will take a humongous hit. And I think he even says in the comment section below, Bushra makes a similar point, like a financial point.
Economic point, yeah.
He says, I don't care what it's worth, it needs to be banned, a cruel and brutal way to slaughter an animal. So literally doesn't care about Britain, doesn't care about the industry, doesn't care about jobs or the money that it'll cost. He just wants to outlaw it for a reason he can't explain. But
he used to belong to Reform. It's the local elections tomorrow. I know no one cares about the local elections. But I think the headline is going to be a massive vote for Reform UK for those who do vote. And they're going to get a lot of councillors across the country. And I think they might win a by-election as well in Runcorn based on there's an immigrant hotel there or something like that. They've made lots of hay with sunshines about that. But yeah, it's one to watch. But yeah, he got kicked out of Reform, didn't he? Yeah, fell out with Farage.
Yes, he's just one of those types. No one sort of can get along with him. He used
to be He used to be like a chairman of Southampton Football Club. I googled him and I didn't realise that. And I wonder if they had any Muslim players. Playing for him at the time. But
interesting to hear their experience.
And he's a millionaire. He's a self-made millionaire. He's a farmer as well.
Rupert.
And
Reform UK.
We should doorstep him outside Parliament and ask him what he thinks about kosher meat.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So maybe if we bump into Rupert Lowe on the campaign trail somewhere, we'll throw a few questions his way and see what he has to say. But there we go. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, Roshan? Because I've dried up all my topics.
No, just George Galloway, unfortunately, the mosque, which I was hoping would not platform him. It looks like they did platform him. It could be against charity law, that, by the way. I don't think they're supposed to have political events in a mosque. It didn't look like it was in a mosque. It looked like it was more of a community centre.
Yeah.
But it might have been affiliated to the mosque. But they should watch out because anything associated with the mosque isn't supposed to have political events inside the mosque. That's against charity law.
Yes.
But people need to wake up to this Galloway guy. Again, we did a poll on our own Telegram and WhatsApp channels. About 500 people each poll, and the vast majority, alhamdulillah, have woken up to this guy. They don't believe Muslims should platform him after he shilled for basically Bashar al-Assad. He insulted Muslims by calling them munafiqun. He associated sincere Muslims with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, terrorism. This is not a guy, the way he's treated Muslims over the past few months, this is not a guy that Muslims should platform. And it's unfortunate that this mosque in Doncaster has done that. But that's the way it goes. I think it's going to take a while for certain members of our community to wake up to him and to move on from him, especially the lefties, the more secular, Muslim lefties that perhaps aren't so familiar with the prayer mat, that tend to support George Galloway, and the Shias do as well. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's hope he loses big time in the local elections.
Yeah, I have a feeling because that Doncaster seat, I don't think the Muslim vote is that powerful there.
No.
I think it's mostly a white area.
Yes, it
That's
is.
what I was told. So, yeah, I think, let's see how it goes. But I can't imagine him ever winning a seat again or winning in a general election.
Dilly, you're saying to watch on. Do you want to say hello, Dilly, to our viewers? Can you say it in front of the camera or not? Yeah, I don't know. Just walk on.
If
He's
you're on,
crashed our party.
yeah, assalamu alaikum. If we can put you on the thumbnail, it'll get us an extra 10k viewers. So
10k?
I think so.
I think that's a little.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Dilly's putting a little subtle pressure on us, isn't he? Because he has his own podcast coming up. But yeah, how are you, Dilly?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. You guys are keeping me late.
All right.
Oh yeah, all right. Well, luckily for you,
we're going to finish now.
Finishing up, yeah. I think Roshan's vented.
All right, here's Hamza. Hamza. Hamza.
Hey, salam.
Yeah, we're doing it live. Just come on, say hello.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hamza's nearly got run over by a door there, but
Live.
it is.
Support 5 pillars. With your liver and your life.
Assalamu nice to see you, Hamza.
Hey, salam alaikum. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, nice one.
All right. No, we're just finishing up.
We can plug them all on
That's
the
the best finish
now.
to Muslims Uncensored ever, isn't it?
Well,
Gate crash by Dilly Hamza.
Absolutely. Well, that's where the action is 5 pillars, isn't it? That's where all the big names appear without warning, whether you want them to or not. Well, there we go.
Mohammed Hijab. Oh, no, just joking.
And, well, there you go. I think we should end it before anyone else interrupts us. But there is, of course, going to be so much more to discuss. So make sure you tune in next week, same time, for another episode of Muslims Uncensored. And obviously, we're monitoring the situation as it develops between India and Pakistan. If there are any massive attacks or border skirmishes, then we may even go live. So keep an eye on 5 pillars in the days and hours coming. But inshallah, leave your comments in the comment section below, and please let us know what you think about this episode. And also don't forget to like, subscribe and share, as it helps the channel immensely. But until next time, it's Assalamu alaikum and ma salama for now.